Good. All right, everyone, welcome to Thursday night at San Francisco Dharma Collective. My favorite night of the week. Thursday is, of course, the day of Jupiter, the god of learning and of spirituality and so on, the god of religion or spirituality. So Thursday, the day of Jupiter, the day of doer. So it's an awesome day to have a meditation class and to talk about weird esoterica that has nothing to do with what we're going to do tonight. What we're going to do tonight is meditate for an hour, as usual. And as usual, your requirements are to not move at all and to not make any sounds. So be still and quiet for an hour, please. And if you don't think you can do that on the floor, please sit in a chair because it's better to just be still than to fidget on the floor. Other than that, I will be providing verbal guidance, which you are welcome to either follow closely with rapt attention or ignore completely and do your own practice. That's fine. Okay, but we're going to do Adhisthana, right? We're going to do strong determination, sit where we don't move or make any sounds. And with that, let's get the lights. Noe, the only person in here with their own area of San Francisco named after them. He was here first. Thank you for volunteering, Noe and Marie. Okay, so with that, let's begin. So begin by settling into your meditation seat and actually just feeling the body settle, right? You want to do this in such a way that your knees are below your hips, so your hips rotate forward, and that makes your lower back curve in, which makes your whole spine go straight, which is a really important thing in meditation. You want to have your body do this really pleasant, alert, relaxed thing. So you're sitting up straight, and the sitting up straight comes from the way your hips are rotated. Your pelvis is rotated just a tiny bit forward. Keeps your back nice and straight. So get that going. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our shamatha and get nice and focused and relaxed. So whatever you do to get a bright mind, to get very focused, very relaxed, let's go ahead and do that. The typical way to do that in this class, our Thursday night meditation class, is to do deep belly breathing. So not normal breathing, but deep belly breathing where your belly is actually extending outward on the in-breath and then collapsing back on the out-breath. And so you're getting these nice big lungfuls of fresh air and then expelling all the old used up air kind of somewhat more forcefully than normal on the out-breath. And we're using that as a focus object. Because again, we're getting focused and relaxed doing shamatha. So you can use the sensation of that breathing at your nose as a focus object. You can use the way the belly is rising and falling as a focus object. If you want to get extra help with your focus, you can use a label. Typical label would be breathing in, breathing out. Making that label while you're doing it to help you stay nice and focused. Other focus objects, completely different focus objects, include doing a mental visualization of something like a flower or a jewel or something that is very easy for you to stay nice and focused on. Or even just a mantra, right? For some portion of humanity mantras are really easy to focus on, so if that's good for you, then go ahead and run with that. However you do this focus, you're going to notice that getting really concentrated also involves getting really relaxed. So you're becoming more and more relaxed and more concentrated during this phase of the meditation. So we've been talking about the focus part, but now let's do the relaxed part. I'll just do kind of a quick guided relaxation to help you get more deeply into that aspect. So first of all, just kind of intend that the whole body settle and relax, kind of become much more dropped into the posture and just letting go of any extra tension that you can just voluntarily shed just by wanting to. And notice that that already can drop you in a little bit further into a kind of alert, relaxed place. And you can also notice that each out-breath is a deeply relaxing gesture. In-breaths, take effort. You're using your diaphragm muscle to pull the breath into the body on the in-breath, so that's a kind of a effort, but the out-breath is just letting go of that. The out-breath is just relaxing. And so simply letting each out-breath draw you deeper and more completely into relaxation. It's a very natural, very easy thing to tune into. And from there, we do the relaxation of the head, beginning with the eyes and the eye muscles. Letting your eye muscles go completely limp, totally relaxed. No tension in the eyes. Letting any expression on your face just drain away so that the face is kind of neutral and relaxed. Any tightness around the lips, the mouth, you just release that as much as you can by just voluntarily letting it go. And make sure that your upper and lower jaws are not touching, so that at least your jaw is unlocked enough that your teeth are not gritting together. And then just allow the tongue to float like a cloud in the mouth. And notice how relaxing your head like that is very pleasant and also sends a kind of wave of relaxation passing through the whole rest of the body, allowing it to sink even more deeply into a very stable, settled, open, but quite alert and focused place. Next, allow your throat and neck and shoulders to release. Not doing anything, don't, move as in like a yoga exercise or something, but just let them release. Just allow them to relax as much as they can by simply intending it. Your throat opens more deeply and completely. Any extra neck tension can just drain away. And the shoulders, let go of any extra readiness, any tightness, any sense that you're going to move them, and instead they settle more completely. And that settling in the shoulders then moves to the upper arms and the elbows and the forearms and the wrists and the hands and the fingers. So your arms and hands find a much, 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 much deeper state of non-tension, where they just go completely limp. There's no reason to move them in any way. They just relax. And as all those muscles in your neck and shoulders and arms and hands relax, another wave of relaxation passes through the entire body, allowing it to settle more completely, open more fully, and allowing the mind to become even more focused, even brighter. And next, if there's any tension in your torso, your belly, that you can voluntarily just kind of let go of. Any muscles that are tight for no reason that you can just allow to relax, just let that happen. And especially moving even further down, allow your hip joints to release and relax and open. All the muscles around the hip joints just let go and become smooth and easy. And with all those internal, deep internal muscles relaxing even a tiny fraction more, a big wave of relaxation passes through the whole body, allowing you to drop even more deeply into focused, clear, bright relaxation. Finally allowing your thighs and knees and calves and ankles and feet and toes to just let go entirely, absolutely releasing all tension, noticing as those big muscles in your legs relax. Again, the whole body lets go just a little bit more, just a little bit more completely. And the body starts to settle into a kind of perfect stillness. The stillness of complete relaxation. Where any sense of agitation just drains away and is replaced by this kind of exquisite repose, a sense of just right stillness and relaxation. That is incredibly pleasant. Good. Now at this point, you can either just continue with shamatha if that feels good to you, or we can move into contacting vast spacious awareness, just the natural mind. The way we typically do this here is to just notice if the mind is grabbing onto anything at all and just relax that. So thoughts may be happening, but the mind just relaxes and the thoughts are not noticed. Body sensations may be happening, but the mind is not grabbing onto them, it just relaxes and opens and is not working with the body sensations. External sights and sounds continue to arise, but if the mind grips onto those or grabs onto those or tries to pay attention to them, we just relax. No tension in the mind of any kind. So whenever the mind grabs onto content, starts to crimp and tighten and congeal around a focus object, we simply let go of that, meaning we relax. each time the mind grabs onto something and wants to pay attention or wants to rest on an object, just relax away from that. Relax and allow the object to toddle on its merry way. So that over and over again you're simply relaxing the core of the mind. If this starts to be a struggle or a fight or some kind of trying to get it right, just completely stop that and instead relax your mind. Just allow the mind to release and open. Notice that the mind has a bright, clear, vibrant, luminous quality, meaning it's awake, it's aware, not that it is bright like a bright light, but that it is awake, aware, lucid. And if you start to go into sleepiness, then just sit up straight and open your eyes, stay awake. But that's it. Other than that, the mind is simply resting in its own awareness. Relaxing away from any content of any kind. The natural tendency, or the habit that we've built up, I should say, is for the mind to clamp down around various content. And then after a while, it's just clamping because it's used to clamping. But what we want to practice in this particular kind of meditation is to relax the clamping and just let the mind not be paying attention to any content at all, but rather simply aware of its own awareness and resting as that. Good. Now, of course, you can continue doing this, not doing, if you wish. It's a powerful way to sit, just allowing the mind over and over to relax and open and relax and open. Another thing we can do here is to now allow the mind to notice phenomena, but in a very open way. So, hearing and feeling and thinking and seeing all the various phenomena, but without the mind reaching out to grab anything at all. Instead, it's just, awareness is already aware of all that. It doesn't need to reach out and hold on to it. It doesn't need to do anything. Just allowing awareness to be aware of phenomena that are arising. Like an open monitoring meditation in Vipassana, but without the doing aspect of that. There's just awareness aware. Hearing, feeling, thinking, being, without any doing at all. Sounds arise, thoughts arise, images arise, body sensations arise. All of that's just kind of happening. But awareness is perfectly still, and there's nobody doing anything. You can't try to be aware. Awareness is just aware. And notice without interposing a person in there who's doing anything, but instead just allowing awareness to be aware of whatever's arising. Clarity and lucidity and brightness, very noticeable. All sensory experience becomes very heightened, very clear, crisp. Open. Without any doing at all. Notice also that it does not get stuck on anything. Awareness itself never gets stuck on anything, it just is aware. Good. Now continuing to just allow awareness to be aware of sensory phenomena without doing anything at all. Because awareness is aware without doing, right? It's just already happening. It doesn't require you to direct it or do anything with it. If it seems like there's any difference between any particular sensory arisings, any distance, any different types, this kind of sound versus that kind of sound, any different location, or even any difference between the various types of senses, just drop all that. And notice that in awareness, none of that is necessary. That's all an add-on. In one way of being aware, there's just stuff happening. There's no distance, there's no direction, there's no meaning, there's no differences. It may seem like an external sound is far away and some kind of thought is very close, but that's all an add-on after the fact. But you can just relax away from. And notice that all sensations are just happening in the same place of awareness. these sensory arisings not located anywhere in awareness, but none of them are separate from each other. What we would conventionally call a sound and what we would conventionally call a body sensation are just arising together. And the same with all the other things that are in awareness. They're all arising together in awareness without any separation, without any classification, without any division. And again, without any distance or direction. All happening together, all arising together. In awareness, nobody is doing anything. Everything is just spontaneously happening. All together, all at once, all in the same place. Nobody is doing anything. awareness is aware of this effortless spontaneity and total interconnection of everything. Everything sort of like a hologram of everything. What is making this moment happen? Who is doing it? Now, in just a moment, I will ring the bell to end the meditation. But with this style of meditation, notice that nothing changes. The body can move, but we're not generating any particular state, but rather simply allowing awareness to notice. So even though conventionally the bell rings and we end the meditation, in fact nothing has ended or changed at all. You can conventionally move and stretch. Thanks, no. Somebody want to get that light by the door there. Thank you. Yeah, notice awareness just keeps happening and or being there, and stuff just keeps seeming to happen spontaneously. Right? There's, from the viewpoint, from this kind of absolute viewpoint of awareness, nobody's doing anything at all. Or to put it in a completely different sounding way, everything is co-arising, right? It takes everything in the universe to have anything at all happen. And so it's all just kind of bubbling along. It requires zero effort. Awareness is effortless. And it's just simply aware of all this seeming stuff, which is really just one completely interpenetrating, independent thing arising, right? Very, very simple in a way when we talk on that level. And of course, then switching to the relative, conventional, it gets a little bit more complicated than that. So we'll go with more comments and questions and reports tonight. So who has anything to share or anything to ask, or who can sit in with the most absolute non-doing? This is the non-doing challenge, yes?
So when you ask, who is doing,
Yes.
it's fairly clear to me that there isn't a doer and that things are happening spontaneously. It does seem that there is a person who's looking at things after the fact.
And how do you know that is there?
There's constantly this proprioceptive sense that there's a thing that's here.
Sure. And how do you know that proprioceptive sense of thing is happening?
It's how do I know anything is happening?
Answer that question.
It always seems after the fact.
So there's some sense of delay or whatever, but of course, even proprioceptive sense is just something arising in awareness. And maybe then there's some sense of that's the doer, that's the knower, whatever, but of course this is just an add-on. This is a lakshana, right? It's a quality we're putting on the thing, just like we put distance and direction, and oh, that's a sound and that's a body sensation. This is all added on to just this stuff happening quality. So even the proprioceptive, it's just arising in awareness just like anything else, right? It's not special at all.
So the there-ness forget that. Like there's a sense in which I can see it's coming from nothing or something. But like I don't want to forget it because it seems like it is important information. If that makes sense, that like things have locations.
Yeah. So again, you're
saying to forget it, but like almost like it's not needed, or like it's.
I'm saying that it's absolutely needed to like go for a walk right now. 100% needed to know the locations and differences and all that kind of stuff, right? However, there's also the possibility of sitting and just letting go of all that. Because it's just a habit, it's something we have to learn, and therefore it's kind of an add-on, right? And you can sit and let that be there in this other way. And notice that there's nobody letting anything do anything in any other way, right? There's just awareness and a bunch of stuff happening. And that is a tremendously free experience, very open experience, right? And we can zoom in at various levels of this and do stuff with it and so on. But the fundamental core of all that experience is just awakeness with no add-ons. And that's not a special state, right? That's just what's there at the bottom of the stack. So, yeah. Of course, to then do conventional reality, we notice stuff higher up in the stack. Otherwise, every time you tried to eat, you'd stab yourself in the face with a fork. And then forget what a fork was, and then eat your finger or something. So, of course, we don't make it go away forever, but being able to notice that at any moment, very easy to do once you kind of, it's hard to unsee once you see it, and once you see it, you notice it's just a kind of deep relaxation to notice that again. But it's not like a yogic move of relaxing your body physically. It's just the mind relaxes in this certain way, and this interconnected thing is just going on of its own accord. No doer at all. What else? Yes. Hi.
This is my second time meditating with you. I was at the consciousness hacking talk to you.
Oh yeah, great. What is your name?
My name is Bharat.
Hi, Bharat. Yes.
This was amazing. Thank you.
Oh,
First,
you're welcome. Thank you.
put me in this place of awareness for quite a while.
Mm.
Very good. I have a general it's not, the question is not fully formed because I was trying not to think about the question while you were talking, so it might come out unformed. But I have this
Arupa Prashna. Yes.
this confusion about like balancing the non-doing and the doing, especially when I'm not sitting, right?
Yeah.
And I don't fully understand the teaching, because when I'm doing, when I have to plan stuff or do something in the world, or especially if you have a creative profession and you're doing something that is beyond the need for survival.
Sure. Do you have a creative profession?
Yes.
What do you make?
I have a tech startup.
Nice.
But when I'm doing that, I noticed that I have to be in the driver's seat
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time and take on this identity, because I feel like some identity is taking something forward.
Sure. So who is doing that?
When I remember this, like when I snap out of it, I remember this and I can snap out of it, but at that point, whatever I was doing is lost, like the thought is lost, or this identity just dissolves.
Mhm.
And I don't know if like with enough practice you can be in both modes at the same time, if that is where like this is going, or if the the teaching is to be more in this non-doing and not in the doing, but I don't understand that. Like there's a fundamental conflict here because I have to take on, I understand that identity is made up and it's forming my personality in some way and whatnot, and I can let go of it at any point, but there's this fundamental conflict on what I should be doing and or not doing. It's quite confusing.
Yes.
I don't know if I framed the question correctly.
It's a perfectly framed question. It's a perfectly framed question. Just to be kind of a dick, I could say, like, again, who is doing it? And that would be like the whole teaching, right? We just keep asking you who has this conflict and who is doing it. And that, that would eventually help. But I won't do that. Instead, I would say, as long as you're still kind of identified with being the doer, the sense of inhabiting the doing of it is crucial. And when you kind of, I'm just going to, there's quotes around a lot of this stuff, but I won't air quote it. Like when you pull out of that into this more open awareness, it can feel like the puppet strings are cut and nothing can happen. But really, the more you go back and forth, it's not a state. Awareness is aware the whole time. And what's happening is you're just getting used to the fact that your mind and body, or the mind and body that appears to be arising in awareness, will take all those actions anyway. Right? It's in a funny way of talking about it. You could say, the physics or the doshas are just going to turn. The body is going to act, and the mind is going to do, and the mouth is going to speak. It just does that. But the awareness is like sitting back like the king or queen of the world and just letting everything happen. And so you'll find that sense that you have to put the hand in the puppet and make the puppet, it is totally just fear. It's just clenching up. Because when we first learn to do and be and all that, we're little kids and it can be a little scary and people are telling us we're doing it wrong and there's new and difficult things. But that clenching in there of being the doer is just clenching. And little by little, for some people it's all at once, for most people little by little by little by little, you'll notice that it's all trained. It just does that. And it's interesting because the mind can be really focused and the body can be really active, but sort of the awareness itself is just never doing anything. The world turns, the mind turns, the body turns, it's just all doing itself. And strangely, you'd think that that's, oh sure, it means you're kind of spaced out and you're going to trip over your shoelaces all the time, but actually it's much more effective. Because that fundamental tension of being the doer is just a waste. It's pretend. Nobody is the doer. Right?
I think you're saying there's no paradox.
What's that?
I think you're saying there is no paradox, like this difference I created.
That was back to being the dick. I was going to go, where's this paradox? Yeah, it's a style of teaching that I just try to avoid, but that's really what I want to ask. Like, where is this paradox? But in a really practical way, for most people, most of the time, you just gradually realize like you can unclench That's what I keep saying. That's why we do the practice of dropping the ball, of unclenching the mind, right, over and over and over, because nothing bad happens. It all still goes along. And even though this is, a Buddhist center and all that, we are open to other ways of thinking. And, I always come back to this the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, right? It's verse 327. And it basically, you can translate it a bunch of ways, but it basically says, everywhere, everybody thinks I am the doer. But really all that's ever happening is the elements are turning. Right? Everybody thinks they're doing it, but the world is just turning. Nobody's doing anything at all. It's all just doing itself. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful verse. Better in Sanskrit than in my translation. What else? Harrison. Nice snoring there for the first 10 minutes.
I wasn't actually asleep. I was just breathing fringily.
Okay.
I wondered why you appeared.
Look, that's really loud.
Yes, everyone, sorry about that. I didn't realize my breathing was
You're
loud.
fine.
Okay.
That's all good.
So this is a sort of question I've had for a few classes. In a
Did you just claim that wasn't snoring?
okay, I claimed that I wasn't asleep.
Okay,
And,
fair enough.
I did claim that it was, which is fringe. Okay, so back to my question, which you diverted me from. In an ontology in which everything is an experience, what kind of thing is awareness? Because it's presumably not an experience, right? Or is it like an experience that's part of every experience in the same way? Or...
We can go into like 5 different Buddhisms that try to answer that question.
I'm not trying to, it's posed as a philosophical question, but I'm actually I'm asking a particular question about my experience. And that I can't notice awareness in the way that I can notice phenomena.
But you can notice awareness. That's interesting.
I'm not sure that I can, actually.
Are you awake right now?
Yes, but...
Okay, then you just noticed awareness.
I noticed some particular contents, which were awake contents rather than asleep contents.
That's even later than what I'm asking for. So we can talk, this will just be a meaningless discussion. What do you really want to know? What's important about this for your life or your meditation?
Well, there are a bunch of sort of experiences that are happening, and I feel like if I get a grip on what you're talking about when you talk about this awareness thing, it'll be very easy for me to piece it out of this sort of puzzle, and otherwise I'm just going to be staring at the wall until something clicks. And, that's very traditional.
Traditionally, you would stare at the wall until something clicks.
But,
it's not a thing you can get like you get other things. So,
okay.
But what I will say is, every time you ask that question, relax the core of your mind. Right? Or to put it in very simple terms, awareness can be aware of awareness. So, that's what you're looking for, but there's nowhere to look and no one's looking, right? So,
I'm going to bother you some more. Is it a quale? Oh man, I really did it.
we can have this conversation offline and then I'll just yell at you. I just want to pretend that I'm nicer, So.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
George.
Hi, George.
So there's like meditating on your breath, like the nostrils and like that stuff, the shamatha we were doing at the beginning, and then there's meditating on awareness. And like, what's the value of meditating on awareness as opposed to the other one? Or like this, is there like a place in a practice where one makes more sense, or are they just different styles?
They're just different styles. You do whichever one works for you the best. And in fact, oftentimes you do them kind of one after the other, like we do in here. Because sometimes people find that that sort of focused shamatha helps when you do the more dropping the ball, do nothing kind of meditation. So, but they're just, in a way you're asking something like, is downward dog better than tree pose or something? And it's like, well, just do both, and different ones at different times for different reasons.
What are the reasons that call you about that expansive awareness? Dropping the ball.
Why? What are the reasons for doing it? I mean, I want to say what's the reason to do anything, but I will say I'll stop doing that, and I'll say, in one way of defining it, doing that well is called being enlightened. So, being able to be with the nature of mind as awareness is important. But why is it important? It's the actual nature of your mind. Right? That's what's there, this pure awareness. It's a powerful thing to do, and it's also, if we want to get real, kind of goal-oriented and thingy about it, we can say that is the place from which to do a whole bunch of really powerful other practices also. And part of why we do it in here is that for like probably 50% of people, it's a much easier, faster way to meditate a lot deeper. For other people, you do the shamatha focus stuff, and that's easier and deeper more quickly. So we make both available, because there's no one-size-fits-all meditation. What I found is that, and what people have found for thousands of years, is that this kind of open awareness, direct path kind of stuff, for a lot of people, that's just the thing right away. Very, very easy and doable right away. So, and it has a bunch of other advantages too that we could sit in contrast with focus practice, etc., etc. But that's part of an answer.
Thank you.
Yep. Last question. Yes.
So, I don't know if this is a question so much as an observation and then just like maybe comment on it, but so I'm so used to identifying like what's going on by saying like in my head this is what's happening.
Yes. As are we all.
Yeah, but I find sometimes in some meditation states it feels like I feel like I know what's happening, but I'm not thinking and labeling it as such, which is like a weird experience. Does that make sense?
Weird.
Well, it's not unpleasant, it's just unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So,
It's actually, in a way, the most familiar thing there is. It's just underneath a bunch of other stuff most of the time. It's supporting all that labeling, right, normally. And so it's always there. It's just sometimes all that labeling and arranging and category kind of simmers down, and we're at a deeper place in the stack, right? Where it's just like, oh.
yeah, and then I'm like, and then that's thinking of it, I'm like, maybe I'm really thinking, I don't.
Yeah, because we're habitually tense in the mind, right? So just work with it, and those kind of, either they're there and it's no problem, or they kind of drain away. It's not the case that we're trying to stop thinking or something, but it's just like, it's,
Yeah, it just feels so different. It's not bad, it's just it feels like a different way of knowing, sort of.
a different way of knowing, yeah.
Which is unfamiliar, but that's okay.
I agree with that, and I would also say the more you work with it, the more you'll notice it's actually the most familiar thing there is. Okay, so let's do some SFDC announcements. Who's going to do that tonight?
I guess it's me.
Noe.
They're all staring at me. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so
Noe.
much. Thank you, everyone, for coming. My name is Noe, and I'm a volunteer host here at the Dharma Center, SF Dharma Center, a unique center, as you know, because it is open.
Which you just renamed.
I did. Did I? Did I? Well, yeah. I do that. Dyslexia runs in my head. So thank you for coming, everyone. As you know, we're a volunteer organization, and we are we run on donations, and donations are very important to keeping the center open, keeping the place going. Our wonderful teachers that come in and we're, come in with this educational, it's a really beautiful thing for me. So thank you. So Don is important. This center doesn't exist for free. I think we came up with a thing. It's almost $400 a day to keep this place open, whether we're here or not. But having said that, well, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for coming. And do dig deep, and we do Venmo and different PayPal over here. Also this weekend we have Friday night we have a movie night. We're going to show a movie at 7:30. A lovely movie called Samsara, which should be this weekend. We have a couple of events. You can see it on our calendar, and you can go to our website, sfdharmacollective.org.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you all for coming.
Yes.
Help us clean up and put things away and wash your dishes.
But first,
We're
going to meditate. Just very briefly. Good. Thank you, everybody, for coming and partaking in my meaningless ranting and our lovely silent meditation. And remember, here on Tuesday, teaching the Hacking the Stack class, and we'll be back next Thursday with more of this. So, see you soon.